Hey guys, welcome to another video, and in this one we're going to be ranting our heads off at Assassin's Creed in general. Not because we can, but because we have to, because the game is turning into a pile of abandoned feces on the side of a bus lane in the middle of Dorset. Just not like Dorset's bad or anything, but this video was inspired by none other than Dynamite. There will be a link to his channel in the description, and you guys can go check him out if you want to. I would highly recommend doing so because he's an amazing YouTuber, and also he inspires some of my videos, so go and check him out and that would be really appreciated. Now, let's start with the optimization. Now, as we know, Assassin's Creed optimization is as amazing that it's the best thing since sliced bread. Now, I can't tell you how many countless times I've actually seen a glitch in Assassin's Creed. I mean, I know Assassin's Creed Unity has provided nightmares and plenty of sexy fapping material for every single Assassin's Creed fan and other gamer in the world since it was released in November, which, you know, means that we've had a terrible optimization in which the codes have gone missing and the faces have been faceless and etc, and hair's gone everywhere and things have been horrendously awful like death. Now, this issue can be prevented and satisfactory if you dedicated a team to the coding of the game for all platforms, like say have a team for PC, for PlayStation and Xbox, because all of them require different coding because they're mapped to different controls and etc, and I know that I respect that, but really there's no excuse for the game that was Unity on PC and PlayStation 4. I believe Xbox One was alright, but there's no excuse for the glitches on that. I mean, some glitches are alright, that's inevitable in any game, but having thousands, if not millions, of individual glitches that just break the game is unacceptable, and there needs to be something that can be done about it, which Ubisoft are not bothering to do. Now, I'm pretty certain Ubisoft pays well for these types of things, but if you just can't be bothered to code it right and you just set out a broken game, I'm pretty certain that there are some lab monkeys out there who would actually do a good job of it and still not want money at the end of it. They'll be settling with the banana and they'll be fine with it or something like that. But if you've got a good job there, they pay well, so at least get the job done. For a company that cares so much about their games, at least make the game actually work. I mean, even EA, who don't give a damn about the customers, would still make the game work to ensure the best revenue possible, and that's what you need to do to keep the company alive, if not the franchise alive, is to actually do your job. And that job is to try your hardest and put your entire heart into making these games. If you claim to be so passionate as you do, then you should be trying your heart out to get that perfect result that everyone wants. And that ain't to say seek perfection in your game, that's just to say to try your best and do the best that you can, and that'll be fine. Now, that's all that we want, but, you know, that's if you can't provide that, the company's going to go downhill very, very, very quickly. Now, let's move on to the story. Now, the story needs to appeal to us as the player, which in Assassin's Creed, it doesn't. It just doesn't appeal to any of us at all. I mean, I'm pretty certain that many of us would rather be attracted to those monkeys in a story than they would Arno and Elise. And that is because you tried too hard on everything else, that you forgot about them and you tried to make chemistry there and it was all too much. Don't overdo yourself with the game and actually make the story alright. I mean, the gameplay is not at all, the story counts as well. To be fair, in Ubisoft's defense though, it's pretty difficult to defeat those monkeys. I mean, those monkeys have a mental condition that I like to call excessive swag. But Assassin's Creed has been missing this in the story, and it's not just Assassin's Creed. Watch Dogs and games like that from Ubisoft have been experiencing the same thing, which is that sort of like burning desire in the player to learn more, and there hasn't been that in a while, and there's not been that gripping tensity that there's supposed to be. There's been none of that, and it needs to change and it needs to be there again. However, I am aware that it's very difficult to make a story good, but if you read a couple of books, devs, and maybe understood what people like Lord of the Rings, and play games that people like, you might get inspiration of how to carry out your game and how to make everything seem right and how to do everything, because I'm pretty certain at the moment you slip up again, you're going to lose money, and then Ubisoft's going to go bust before you know it, because it's one of its main selling titles is Assassin's Creed, and Assassin's Creed hasn't been at its best for a few years now, since the Ezio trilogy really hasn't been Assassin's Creed properly, and I'm pretty certain that Patrice Désilets is waiting around with his monkeys plotting world domination, ready for you guys to slip up so he can take over with his new game about ancestors and all that stuff, and which is basically like Assassin's Creed, and then make everyone love it, and then it won't be your game anymore, it'll just be his, which it was in the first place, and then you will be gone. There will be no more Ubisoft. But at least Assassin's Creed will be gone, but you will lose sales, and that is the main thing. This is why it needs to be good. People will not keep buying these awful story-driven games. You need to step up a notch and actually make the game story interesting. Now let's move on to the third point, which is a point brought up by Dynamite in his little rant that he released earlier about this, is the fact that none of the characters are getting a new game. Now he said that he doesn't want to see Jacob and Eva get one, but in the future he wants to see a character who they could drag out for another game, or set the third one, even like they could have done with Connor or Edward, but they didn't, sort of thing. And he thought Arno would have been the first, and he's a bit disappointed with all that. But what I think is that they need to do that. Actually, I actually agree with what Tyler says. They need to do that. They need to flesh out some of the characters, give them some skin, make the game about the character instead of the game about the game. The game needs to revolve around the character in a way, and the character doesn't need to sort of revolve around and try to get into the game, because that's what Ubisoft are doing, and it's a wrong approach, and it's making all of these games uninteresting and seem unimportant because the character has no sort of input on the story, and it's just all bleh. I mean, the characters have been alright. I mean, the word from what is still Connor, I do like Arno quite a lot actually, but they just haven't been the right sort, they haven't been executed properly, if you know what I mean. They just haven't been executed in the right way whatsoever. Now, this needs to change because you're going to lose fans if you keep doing this, because it's going to become uninteresting, unimportant. It's just going to become another game that was pointless, like Unity was pointless. It is just going to be another pointless game that nobody's going to want to buy because everyone will know it's pointless eventually. Now, my final point is about the setting. Now, the setting, I'm not going to lie, so far in Assassin's Creed I've had plenty of fun exploring every single setting to an extent. I mean, Boston was and New York were a bit boring, but Paris, Havana, Kingston, Rome, Constantinople, Florence, Venice, Tuscany, places like that, they've all been quite fun to explore in their own time. But Ubisoft are going to run out of ideas going forward, and like Dynamite said in his video, they need to go back. They need to go back very far. And that means not keep going forward until you eventually end up in the Mushroom Kingdom. You need to open your minds to the past as well as keep on going forward. I mean, to go back to times where you're more free if you keep going back as well. Like, you can go ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, 1066, the Tudors, 1066 again, when people were being butt raped by swords and stuff like that. And you can, if you go back, your mind's going to be more open, you can have more choice, the game franchise will be going on for longer. And if you go forward, there's only so far you can go before you end up playing as Commander Shepard, the assassin from hell who's here to assassinate your Templar Krogan ass, which just wouldn't make sense because it's even a different game, but you know, it wouldn't make sense for the future. So for the sake of the franchise, Ubisoft, please go back and save it. Go back to more grueling barbaric times like 1066 where Harold got an arrow in his eye and all that. It's very interesting stuff if you got into it. And if you keep going forwards, you're going to run out of time periods and eventually you're going to have to go back. So why not start now? Because World War I and World War II wouldn't make for very good assassin games purely because you'd be shot at a lot. So you need to go back to before guns, before like anything projectile of that instance sort of thing. I mean, if I asked for a show of hands of how many people enjoyed the Ezio trilogy and Assassin's Creed 1 more than they did Assassin's Creed 3 and forward, I'm pretty certain I'd get the entire, the entirety of my fanbase just doing it right now, the entirety of everyone else's fanbase, unless you're one of those Unity fanboys in which I need to remind you exactly why I'm saying that, and it's nothing to do with the setting. Hey! But anyway guys, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment on what you thought about this, rate down below, and I'll see you all in the next one with another video. So thanks for watching guys, so long!